And the University of Indiana was, again, the first state university, not the first university,
Right.
but state university that had a doctoral program in history and philosophy of science.
Wow.
That means when I started, you did not have to have at least an AB in physics or chemistry. Now you have to have at least an MA in science. Well,
Okay.
I'm not opposed to that.
Sure.
I didn't have a major in physics or chemistry,
Right.
though long ago in high school I had 4 years of physics and 3 years of chemistry.
Right.
We had all kinds of science.
Yeah, so you knew your way around.
Oh, I knew what they were doing,
Yeah.
and I was only interested in, and still am, the significance of all that development. I had no interest, even if I had the time or the propensity, to become a physicist.
Right, just like Father Yaki.
Now,
Yeah,
he
he studied
is-
it from a theological
he is
philosophical-
not.
Yeah.
He is not, and was not, and I was not. But I've been, well, yeah, I could say not neurotically, but I'm preoccupied with that concern,
Right.
which I think to be the greatest fallacy in our restoration schools. That is not a major concern, because every development of Western civilization stems from the development of science. I can't help it, it's already occurred.
Sure.
And I'm not a revisionist history
Right.
person, so I can't rewrite it to fit someone's qualms. So that's some of the concerns
Okay.
that I have.
Now, just to back up just a little bit for some clarification, and I know you've mentioned the movement, I think Stone Campbell or Restoration Heritage,
Yes.
but that's the religious heritage that you became a Christian in.
At that time, I didn't have the slightest idea about those things.
Right.
But within 5 years, well, this sounds like tooting horns. See, now I don't even have a horn.
Right.
But I had to know. I didn't. Catechism didn't excite me too
Right.
much.
Didn't resonate with you.
No. And when I had to find out, like 2 men, brilliant men, old R.C. Foster, in my estimation, one of the most brilliant men in our heritage. He was taught by McGarvey, at the College
Right.
of Scripture.
Mm-hmm.
And McGarvey, back to him, McGarvey was in the religion department of the University of Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
which they no longer have. But he was writing his Acts commentary. Right out the window was a civil war going on.
Right. Turbulent times.
It's turbulent times, and he was writing a book.
Right.
Well, anyway, R.C. Foster was his greatest, and I have no doubt, extremely brilliant man. Now, he didn't understand what was going on in the world, but he could recite the Luo chart.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
he's no question about that. When he was at Harvard, he had finished the classwork of his doctoral thesis. See, McGarvey wanted our best students to go to real
Sure.
school.
He felt they could withstand whatever they were confronted
Yeah,
with there.
and there's no question about that. I didn't pay any attention to what was going on, but he did stay. But anyway, he had his thesis written under Cadbury. That would be meaningless to most people in this audience, but Cadbury at that time was the greatest New Testament scholar in America, but in the liberal tradition at Harvard.
Right.
And he was taking language exams in 5 languages that year, wrote his thesis, went to his exams. Now hear this, and this is terrible. Now he didn't say this, his wife said this.
Right.
That's where I got the information. He did not announce things like this. But he went, and Cadbury said, Mr. Foster, our committee realizes that you're one of the brightest minds that's ever been in our school. But we cannot give a Harvard PhD to a man that believes what you believe. And he had a nervous breakdown.
Oh, my.
And from that day or week on, he was in bed right after dinner for 3 or 4 hours every day of his life to rest. Now, he did lose his mind, but he had a nervous breakdown because he thought he was in, see?
Right.
And there's no point harping on that, but Cadbury and the committee should have told him he wasn't going to pass. Don't bring him up to his examination and tell him, well, you're a bright man, but.
Yeah.
That's a yeah, but. Yeah, but, well, anyway, his son, Lewis, both those people are dead now. He wanted his son to go to real school, went to Princeton, or went to Yale, and went to Harvard, and brilliant young man. Well, he wasn't too young, but by the time he got done, but he didn't want to go through what his father went through.
Right.
And he did a doctorate at Harvard in patristics.
Okay.
Now the tragedy of the issue is that classical scholars do not treat classical literature like biblical scholars treat the Bible.
Right.
So what they wanted to know is what the classical scholars said. No, always thought that was odd.
Right.
See, he was in classics. He hadn't the slightest interest in studying a doctorate in classics, but he didn't want to go through what his father went
Trying
through.
to work around, avoid
He just had to do both.
Yeah.
And but anyway, he got a PhD from Harvard, which his father didn't get, but in patristics and not in the New Testament. Well, that's what his concern was.
Sure.
So anyway, brilliant man, both are dead, but those were extremely bright people. I don't mean just brighter than the students.
Just
See,
exceptionally.
if teachers are only brighter than the students, we're all going downhill. See?
Right. Yeah.
If all you know is what the teacher tells you, you're losing ground.
Right.
So anyway, those bright men, I remember them just like it was yesterday. And at CTS, my major professor at CTS at Butler was a former Church of Christ member.
Okay, non-instrumental Church of Christ.
Non-instrumental, and rebelled against the legalism. But by no means, see, he wasn't theologically a disciple, I know.
Right.
He never modified that at all, but he couldn't manage Abilene and
Fried Hardeman.
that's
right.
where he came from. But at no time, he was always very gracious to me. No.
Right.
Well, everybody was, so that I had no problem with anybody.
You didn't necessarily provoke conflict.
No. But I never carried weapons to class or
hurl vulgarity
or swear or put notes up on the board. This diabolical teacher needs to be liquidated.
Sure.
No, but anyway, that's part of my heritage. I had, at CTS I had 80 hours. See, that's when you still had to do 79 hours.
Sure.
And I had 80 hours. 30 hours was in theology with Dr. Sykes.
Right.
And but that's where he came from. But as I said, we studied the text. We weren't debating, about.
Sure.
And he never debated that at all. But his rebellion was more emotional,
Right.
I think, than intellectual, I think.
And again, rebellion to what?
Well, the legalism.
In the non-instrumental part of the branch of the Stone Campbell.
And at that time, well, in 1934, the legal recognition in the census was a separation of the so-called disciples and the Christian church. Up to that time, if you weren't non-instrumental, you were in the Christian church. Well, the Christian church meant that you were disciples.
You're disciples of
It was
Christ.
like in our heritage in Illinois, there were 475 Christian churches in Illinois.
Sure.
And up till almost the 60s, they were all disciples. But when they found out that the disciples wanted money for them, is over local autonomy, you've heard,
Sure, right.
heard of that.
Yeah.
And they had like a Presbyterian boss or a Episcopalian boss or a Catholic boss, and that they didn't like. Now some of that might not have been biblical concern. It might have been just
Independent Americanism.
just put this as frontier individualism.
Sure.
And
Which is not evil.
no, it's not evil. But you see, if you're in the Word is not the state secretary. We had state secretaries that come around appointing preachers and things. Well, that's part of what they were rebelling against. I don't recall. And like in my heritage, a long time ago, back in Little Catlin, that's in the middle of Nowheresville, but It's just 10 miles out of town is a big Peabody Coal Company is what it was there for. But all the churches in Illinois were disciple. So by the 60s, the die was cast. Started in the 50s, and they didn't want to cause trouble. I hear that now. I heard that then. And yet when Ed Smith came, he said, now, I will not discuss these matters in the pulpit, but I cannot be silent about my conviction. So we're going to have Bible study and locate. The first Bible study of our heritage was in 1955, and now I'm still looking for that to reappear in the churches. But anyway, he said that after a year, if it doesn't make any sense to you, I will leave. I'll cause no trouble. I like you, but I can't take this machinery.
Right.
Well, after 1 year, and that was just, just redneck farmers in that area. About 275, not big, but for churches at that time, that wasn't too bad. Now you got Sunday school classes that big.
Yeah.
But he said, and not one person, this is the paradox of it all, not one person voted against him when they had the vote within a year of him being there.
Okay,
They said, we wish someone had told us those things.
to explain the issues and the challenges.
Now that's
of
all
why,
I'm
right.
asking. I'm not asking for catechism. And the same thing occurred in the Lincoln Church. The Lincoln Church was, Mr. Hargrove came, that was.
Oh, Lincoln Christian Church here in Lincoln,
disciple.
Illinois. Okay.
And he did the same thing.
Okay.
And his education was, whatever that is, liberal disciple universities, when they had Bible chairs.
Yeah.
Used to have, our heritage used to have 43, my mind's going, so 43 or 47 Bible chairs.
Right.
They didn't have Bible colleges.
Sure.
That Bible chair, which is the Bible department
Right.
in the university.
Yes.
Well, now almost every one of those Bible chairs went into the liberal mode, and we lost those Bible chairs, like McGarvey in Tennessee.
So
Lexington.
like Texas Christian University would not have a Bible chair.
Now, you got this, and you hear
They have a
that.
good football team, but not a Bible chair.
You hear this very clearly, Chris. And but our heritage needs to know about that. The world didn't start when we got here.
Right.
Most people do said, well, I didn't know that. I used to be smart, tell the students. I said, don't worry about what you don't know, because you don't know most things.
No, which is true.
See, I'm going to tell the
Right.
truth, and they didn't like to hear that. But anyway, in that heritage, but in the 40s and 50s, Jack, two Christian lawyers took all the cases. Again, the disciples started suing the church.
Oh, because they wanted the real estate.
For the real estate. They didn't care who was there or not. Sure. But the real estate, like the Methodists and Presbyterian, the local church doesn't own that property.
Oh,
Now that in the disciple heritage, they didn't own the property.
denomination held the title.
That's exactly correct. Put that down. So when Jack and his cohort, both of those men are dead now. Jack used to be a custodian of the school on the board, and but anyway, those two lawyers took 42 cases from Iowa. Iowa was the largest case. Every church in Iowa was a disciple, and they lost every case. These two lawyers, now they wouldn't even get an audience, and there would be no judge. And what you had to prove then, and anyway, they went to court and won the day, 43 or 40, I forget now, but that's trivial specific information. But anyway, all they had to do was prove to the judge that the disciples had deviated from the heritage.
Oh.
Well, historically, that'd be quite easy to show.
Right. So that way it could show justifiable cause for the
That's
local
all they had to
congregations.
show. Now they wouldn't even get a quorum, probably couldn't have a case
Right.
over that very thing. Judges say, how narrow-minded are you people?
Right. And
We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto.